NewsX. In this telecast, we are taking a break from the breaking news and stories of the day to discuss an issue that will shape the future of India's elections. The Ramnath Kovind-led high-level committee on the 14th of March submitted more than 18,000 pages on the proposed One Nation, One Election that recommended adopting the process for 1969. Much hue and cry has been made over the issue, and the Congress is making it an issue also for the 2024 elections, claiming that Modi wants to demolish India's constitution. Well, we, of course, are going to be focusing on what Indira Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru also did, that in fact also talks about questions of whether the elections in India, which could have been simultaneously held in 1951, why didn't they happen? What happened that the cycle turned into one where only a handful of states go into simultaneous polls with the national elections? Remember, India conducted its first election in the winter of 1951 to 52. The election was actually One Nation, One Election, where all 26 state assemblies went to polls with the Lok Sabha poll. What's interesting is what happened then in the 1957 election. The Election Commission converted the Conference of All India Parties in New Delhi on the 13th of November 1956 to come to a consensus with all political parties that February-March 1957 was the most convenient period to hold the second general election. It was decided then that 7 state assemblies would be dissolved, which included Bihar, Bombay, Madras, Mysore, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal, in order to facilitate simultaneous elections at that point. It was in 1959 where the first state assembly was dissolved that caused the first disruption to this cycle. The then Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, dismissed Namboodiripada's first elected communist government, that was in Kerala, citing its incapacity to rule according to constitutional provisions. The simultaneous cycle with the majority of states continued in 1962 and the 1961 election, but 1967 saw Congress government led by Indira Gandhi reduce its majority to just 283. The rumblings, though, began in November 1969, when Indira Gandhi was expelled from the Congress for violating party discipline. This caused a split, with Indira Gandhi setting up the Indian National Congress requisitionists against the Congress O, led by K. Kamaraj and Morarji Desai. But Indira managed to keep together most of her leaders, with only 65 defecting with the Congress O. She kept the government running with the support of the left, who had 25 MPs, and Karunanidhi's DMK, which had 19 MPs in parliament. But the surprising announcement came on the 27th of December 1970, when Indira Gandhi, in her address to the nation, announced dissolution of her government 15 months before the end of its term in 1972. That was the first time that Lok Sabha was dissolved in independent India. She said she was not concerned with merely remaining in power, but using that power to ensure a better life for the most majority of our people. Now that led to the first ever premature Lok Sabha elections in 1971, which led to state assemblies being desynchronized from the national cycle. So when Narendra Modi says that he wishes India returns to One Nation, One Election, is he destabilizing the system, or is he simply reinstating the original model? Well, that's something we're going to be discussing with our panel. Joining us at this point is our Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist. We also have Utpal Kaul, historian, joining us live. Sumit Peer, political commentator, also is with us on the broadcast. Ramakant Gaur, Supreme Court lawyer, also joins the broadcast. Let me begin with you first, Gautam Mukherjee. There is much hue and cry on the issue of One Nation, One Election. What is your take on it? And is it such a a departure from the Constitution, or is it merely returning to our original model?
Yes, well, it was there in the first place, but then it was a much smaller electorate, and there were very many fewer states at the time Nehru ruled, and even in 1970-71 when Indira Gandhi ruled. However, to put it back now, the only practical way I can think of is to introduce it pretty much like the UCC through the BJP states, which will readily accept it, and then give options and exceptions to the opposition for the remaining states. Now, since BJP is most likely to get a large majority along with the NDA, there really will not be that many states which are not within its fold. And it may be possible to push this through, if not at once for every state, certainly by the time the next elections come around in 2029 across the board.
Okay, let me bring in Utpal Kaul as well for the historical perspective on this. Utpal Kaul, was this the original design of holding a simultaneous election across the country? Was that the way it was always supposed to happen in democratic India? And is this merely returning to that, or is it an aberration, Utpal Kaul?
I perfectly remember the lecture of Indira Gandhi in 1970, I think so. I was, I think, in 10th class, because everybody was surprised, and I cannot say shocked, that when she dissolved Parliament. And everybody knew that it was only for her to consolidate, because it was Congress I and Congress Old and Nijlingappa and Morarji Desai on one side, and V.V. Giri supporting Indira Gandhi. So Indira Gandhi wanted to consolidate herself. So she dissolved Parliament, and it was a departure from what we used to do from 52, 57 and onwards. I think if we calculate, if I was thinking about it, if we calculate, we have lost nearly 2 lakh, 3 lakh of crores by having different elections for state assemblies and general election on Parliament. And we are doing it for last, after 70, 71, 72. So I think time has come now that we go to back and do it again as a simultaneous election. And I have a simple formula that if Mr. Modi gets a good majority, he can immediately dissolve all assemblies and ask the simultaneous election. Maybe it is 1 month after, or 2 months after, or 3 months after, because then it will be easy in 2029. Otherwise, it will go on like that. We have to take some drastic action about that. Otherwise, we will be losing a lot of energy, lot of money, and it is a lot of waste of time and manpower in having these separate elections. And let us see what our former president, Mr. Covid's report has come, and there's a lot of discussion in social media also on people like you in news channels. The debate is heating up, and let us see how the wise government will take the decision. Thank you.
Okay, let me take that across to Sumit Peer as well. Sumit, why so much of a hue and cry on one nation, one election? Is it a good idea according to you? And what explains the opposition currently?
Uday, thanks for having me on your show. Look, Congress doesn't have to be bothered, honestly, because by that time, by 2029, if it is implemented, Congress will not be a player. Right? Tension kai ki le rahe ho? Why are they bothered? Yaar? I don't understand that. If you look at any of the election forecasts, they are supposed to get around 20 to 40 seats, maybe 26 seats. By that time, they will be reduced to 10, 15 seats if they still are as a party. So why should a 15-seater party be bothered so much? That is the first thing. Let's understand, Uday, that if you go into history and the logic of it, it was how it was supposed to be done. It is how exactly it was supposed to be used. Indira Gandhi in 70, because of her selfish gains, advised by Mr. Haksar, she decided to dissolve the parliament and go for a new election. By that time, we had state and parliamentary elections going together. So this country was not perpetually in election mode. So if you today do anything, by election hai. If you don't do anything, election hai. If you do something, oh, you did it for the election. If you don't do anything, you didn't do it because there's an election. So if you do, you are damned. If you don't do, you are damned, because there is somewhere, someday, some month of the year, there's an election in some part of the country. So Modi ji has wearing Manipuri gamcha because there's an election in Manipur. Or he has not wearing Assami topi because election in Assam is over. Because we have started seeing politics like that. While as if you are in his place, you will look for the country as such. My problem is, what is the problem of Congress, who are not a force today? who are not a force today, what is the problem of having a one nation, one election? First of all, the country will not be perpetually in election mode. You cannot be you cannot be passing charges to each other because there's an election, there's not. Thirdly, you save a lot of time, energy, and money. And fourthly, important, sir, when you are done and dusted with election, you have 5 good years to work before you bother about the next elections. Why do you want a political party like a BJP or a Congress or anybody perpetually to be in election mode? We usually say BJP is a perpetually in election mode. No, it should not be like that. By election, okay, after 5 years, you have to bother about when the next election is. Indira Gandhi broke the cycle because of her personal reasons. She used Article 356 50 times. It is the blatant misuse of the Article 356 where she started dissolving those elected governments. Pandit Nehru was the first one to dismantle the government in Kerala, which you rightly said. So between the father and the daughter, they have blatantly misused this. They have misused to their advantage. They are using, and again, today the problem of the Congress is not how will it benefit the nation or how is nation going to lose for it. The problem of the Congress is what we are going to get from it. Because if there is one nation, one election, if you do it, Uday, even in those 2-3 states wherever Congress is there, they might not be even out. They will be out of the game totally. Because then the national mood will be there. They are worried about the aura of Prime Minister Modi. They are worried BJP is the largest political party. They are worried about the 18 crore ka cadre. They are worried about the people's support for Modi. So if there's one nation, one election, usually the people will go with the mood. Ki bhai mood ka, hawa kahan pe? Hawa will be with the BJP. So whatever Congress will be left to gain some 1 or 2 or 3 states or some 20, 30 seats, they will be even gone out of that. Fearing that eventual loss and fearing that threat of elimination from electoral politics of India, they are crying foul. Is it wrong to say Indira Gandhi misused it for her advantage? No. She dissolved governments 50 times, sir. Pandit Nehru just dissolved a communist government in Kerala because he didn't like them. He said they are not as per the Constitution of India. So these people have tweaked the things as per their convenience and gains of the family. And if you look at the ex-president, Kovind Saab has clearly given a recommendation this should happen. If you have to amend the constitution, he goes in saying, if you have to amend the constitution, kindly go ahead and do it. Because this is the supreme national interest. When we are talking of path-breaking reforms everywhere, when you want a Prime Minister Modi to reform everything, why are they rattled about this thing? Rahul Gandhi ji, it will save you time and trouble to run a Nyaya Yatra, Bharat Jodo Yatra, Padal Yatra, cycle rickshaw Yatra, scooter Yatra. You have to do one Yatra in 4.5 years because 4.5 years you can be wherever you are. You have to come back in last 6 months, run a couple of Yatras, try your luck. If it works, good. If it doesn't work, happy-go-lucky. So why are you bothered? I mean, why is Congress and Rahul Gandhi bothered? And if you lately look, Uday, for Congress friends, I would advise them to prepare for 34. Dekho, 29 में कुछ नहीं होने वाला. Prepare for 34 if you are still as a party and if you are still as a parivar and if you still have some...
Okay. Let me get in Ramakant Gaur. Ramakant Gaur is also with us. Ramakant Gaur, let's talk about the legalities of this change. What will it entail to bring about this change for one nation, one election? And will it be unconstitutional as the opposition says, or will it be merely going back to the original format?
See, they need to bring the amendments in the constitution. Various provisions are to be inserted. And in fact, Bar Council of India has also proposed the amendment in Article 83, 85, 172, 174, and 356 of Constitution of India. So that needs to be brought in. But this exercise is not new. In 1995, the Law Commission was tasked to prepare the report on this. And in 1999, a committee headed by Justice B.P. Jeevan Reddy, an ex-judge of Supreme Court, prepared a report for Law Commission. It was 170th Law Commission report, which proposed certain electoral reforms. So the story is coming from there. The concept is not new. In 1999, a Supreme Court judge headed committee said that. Mr. Kovind's committee has also prescribed this in 18,626 pages. It is it's not a long drawn battle, but it is going to happen in some times to come because BJP is well prepared to implement this. If you remember, this government was there in 1999 and this report was handed over to Mr. Ram Jethmalani as Law Minister. I wish to comment on one thing, what my brother Samit Peer said. Why Congress is bothered and BJP is taking over the helm and it will be vanishing. I am not a political commentator, so I will refrain myself to say something. But let me remind him, Atal Bihari Vajpayee was only one member of parliament. In 1984, there were only 2 parliamentarians of BJP in parliament, out of 543. So, one thing is permanent in this world, which is change. Uncertainty is something which is bound to strike. We have to be prepared for any surprises and shocks. So if we herald something like that, I think it may not be right kind of recourse. There may be some propensity, some alienation. That's something different. But Congress is going to vanish. If at all it is going to happen. But opposition would always remain, this way or that way. So, but any which ways, this one nation, one election will, be quite beneficial. If we look at the overall structure, first thing is, it will be requiring political reform laws. You need to be administratively prepared so the cost of the election would be lessened. If the state and the central elections are held together, then certainly the cost factor would be quite lessened. Continuous governance would be another aspect. And more so, if we look at what is happening today, Kerala is fighting for funds and they have approached Supreme Court that we don't have fund. This kind of things may not happen in future if one nation and one election theory comes to the fore. Because ultimately, decentralization of power could be one of the factors. And Sumitji has rightly pointed out that there will be a focus on the policy. See, we will be focusing on what is good for the country. Ultimately, if we are creating policies for one state, the policy is different, another state policy is different. Like cow beef is good in Goa, it is bad in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. So there may be a different proposition, but the policy relating to the development, like the present dispensation has undoubtedly created very good infrastructure. Then we require policies for bringing more infrastructure, and they'll be more focused for the development. So there will be less hassles as far as various clearances are concerned. Ease of doing business would be in a better situation. Today, if you start the business in state of Uttar Pradesh or in any other state, you need to connect with various state authorities. And then you need to connect certain central authorities. The taxation is also like that. You have to pay state GST, you have to pay central GST. When all this is focused, when all this is centralized, then there will be no such divergence of the funds. Yes, this entire process will require overhaul in the political system, in the electoral system, administrative system, and various other aspects. But I do foresee that there will be a greater good for implementation in one nation, one election.
Okay. Just take us through a bit about, Gautam, how the one nation, one election cycle got changed in the first place.
Well, apart from the fact that Indira Gandhi wanted a majority and therefore, precipitated a general election good 15 months before it was due, you've also got, many exceptions. You have by-elections when people die, when people resign. Parties, as we see today, split away and join other side, or split away and form a majority like in Maharashtra, and the original party becomes the rump. So, even if you do implement this, it is not going to be smooth sailing and perfect in every way. Also, the question of whether it will cost less remains to be seen, because you're now talking of 1.4 to 1.5 billion people, of which nearly 1 billion people are eligible to vote. It is a gargantuan exercise either way, whether it is done for both state and central elections or by themselves. So when you have individual elections, by-elections will always be there, they can't be helped. When there are splits, or when there are governments which fall, again, you're going to have exceptions to this rule. So it is not foolproof. Having said that, if the basic motive is to save money and to concentrate on governance, it is basically a good thing. It's a bit like the GST. It took a lot of doing, 17 years in the not making, and then finally it was pushed through, and then it wasn't quite what everybody wanted. It has been reviewed time and again. Different categories have been reduced and up. Now, this is the same process that will happen here as well. And, I think it will also be a bearing on the judicial process. Right now, everybody runs to the high courts and the Supreme Courts on every matter, and that tends to stymie things. There has to be elaborate reform, I believe, in the higher judiciary in particular, and in general, the judiciary is understaffed. The number of cases are backed up in their lakhs and crores, which is absurd, but that is the case. At the same time, politicians are able to bypass all this and get immediate hearings in a day or two, or even on the very day. So it is quite a mess. So the judiciary is another, if you like, stumbling block to this whole idea of one nation, one poll. So all of this has to be tackled simultaneously, or at least in near sequence, in order for the system to work better.
All right. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us. We've run completely out of time.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.